Should Sean Dyche, rightly, in his own right, be considered amongst the candidates to take over at Tottenham?
If the candidate list is being drawn up by Daniel Levy, yes, of course he should. If it's being drawn up by the media, possibly not, because we're talking about two very different ends of the same scale, or ends of a scale. You know, there's no reason for Scott Parker to be on that list. The reason why Scott Parker's on that list is because perhaps Daniel Levy liked him when he was a player at Tottenham and thinks he might be a decent coach, but he's about to get Fulham relegated. So there's no reason for Scott Parker, in the eyes of the media, to be on that list, and he won't be on that list, and he won't be getting Tottenham's job. So Klinsmann played for Tottenham. That subsequently means there must be a coefficient that forms the betting companies and the media to suggest that Jurgen Klinsmann should be on that list, despite the fact that over the last few years his management career hasn't taken him into any great stellar heights.
You said Nuno Espirito Santo last week.
I did.
Sean Dyche's Burnley thumped them.
Oh, individual game. Aston Villa thumped Liverpool 7-2. What's that got to do with the price of cheese? These are individual moments in time. They're not the overall outlook of how a team is built and how a team's achievement. You know, Manchester City got beat 5-2 by Leicester. But they're going to win the league. So you can take individual moments and individual games and say, well, that doesn't define a manager. You know, the sun shines on a dog's backside every day of the year. You know, even that happens to people. But here is my view on Sean Dyche. If not, why not? And the why not argument could run into the same category as, well, why not Alan Kirbishley when Charlton were punching way above their weight for many, many years? Why not Eddie Howe, despite the ridiculous argument that Harry Redknapp once ran, which is if he was called Eduardo Suarez, then he'd be getting a top six job, but it's only because he's not a fashionable foreigner. But the fact is that...
So you're saying, Sean Dyche, why not?
I'm saying, if not, why not? Yeah. And then I'm putting a case as to why and why not. Right? Why not? Because he manages Burnley. Burnley play a brand of football based upon the calibre of player that they can buy, and the expectations of the club are to maintain their position in the Premier League. Sean Dyche is an incredibly capable operator in that sphere. There may well be a perspective that he's a victim of his own success by operating in that sphere and not being given an opportunity to see how does he break that cycle. You know, there were rumours that a couple of years ago he would have run down the motorway to Crystal Palace. When the Frank de Boer appointment was available and Palace were looking for a change.
It might have done. But you've been banging on that Daniel Levy wants to do things at Tottenham on a much tighter budget. Sean Dyche, in 5 has worked at Burnley and 5 seasons has consolidated that football club in the Premier League. Yep. They've consolidated their position. Sure. Working under the tightest budget constraint.
And that is a way of operating.
And if he's working with a certain level of player, Simon, then let's see what Sean can do with
if you want to take that calculated risk. But we're asking the question and posing it to ourselves.
Why is he not on the list?
Why isn't he on that list, and what could possibly exclude him from that list? And then when you start to dig in behind it and go, well, okay, Tottenham's aspirations, whether they're achievable or not, are for far greater things than survival. Tottenham's wage bill,
of course, yeah.
Tottenham's player calibre is far different. You don't compare Harry Kane to Chris Wood. You don't say managing Harry Kane is going to have the same management criteria as managing Chris Wood. You don't look at Dele Alli and say, well, he requires the same sort of management as Dwight McNeil.
Yeah, but Sean Dyche's aspirations would be to manage at a higher level, and Tottenham is a higher level.
Sean Dyche might have an aspiration to run a 3-hour marathon. Doesn't mean he can do it. Right? We're talking about what people can do in the perception of people's minds. And as we know, unfortunately, perception is 90% of reality. I was giving you an example earlier on about perception, which is whatever comes out of Gary Neville and Roy Keane's mouth is considered to be blockbuster. But if you listen to Liam Osman on Football Focus, he's equally as compelling, just doesn't have the same gravitas as Keane and Neville, because it's all about perception. Sean Dyche is a very fit-for-purpose, Ron Seal-based manager that does what's said on the can. Right? He will do the job. He will get a team difficult to beat. They'll play a particular brand of football based upon the players that he's got. Now, does that translate into a Tottenham team that has some different requirements, a different expectation from the fans, a different expectation from the chairman, a different expectation from the media? Does Sean Dyche... Now, the only way you find that out is to take that risk. And do you want to take that risk?
Taken?
And does that risk...
It's all a journey for these guys.
Does that risk fit with a DNA? And I hate this expression, but I'll use it just because I can't think of another word. Does it fit with the look and feel of Tottenham Hotspur? What is the look and feel of Tottenham Hotspur? It's a pizzazz. It's a fizzy club. It's got lots of energy about it. Hasn't won very much, but there's a high level expectation. It features in the Big Six.
Has it actually?
Yeah, of course it does.
Where's the fizz?
Where's the fizz? Well, because Tottenham has always had this image of a very, very upwardly mobile football club because of the brand of football they once
that
played.
fall short.
Oh yeah, listen. I'm singing with the choir. What have they actually won? 2008 and cups when the year ended in one, as the myth would go.
But Sean Dyche, with the way he goes about the job, he's so studious, he's so wholehearted, he's so committed. He could stop the rot.
So we asked the question: what rot? The rot that's gone into every football club goes through cycles.
The rot of achieving nothing.
Well,
the rot of not winning something.
That is a rot that most football clubs fall into, besides a very, very limited few. Right? There's only a few clubs that win Premier Leagues, only a few clubs that win FA Cups. They're very limited, right? And, clubs that won the FA Cup, Portsmouth won the FA Cup, how'd that serve them well? Wigan won the FA Cup, how'd that serve them well? Down the leagues they've gone. And I'm not comparing and contrasting Portsmouth and Wigan because the finances of those clubs are different and the expectations of those clubs are different, but they won a trophy. What did that do for them? Absolutely nothing.
I hear what you're saying, but say you're Daniel Levy and say Sean Dyche was presented for interview in front of you.
Yeah, why would you not?
You would do it.
Why would you not?
Absolutely.
But if you're Sean Dyche, right, so here's Sean
But
Dyche.
would you take the plunge?
But here's a conundrum for Sean Dyche.
Would you be brave enough?
Hold on. Here's a conundrum for Sean Dyche. Got a nice little job at Burnley, secure, right? I'll tell you what I'll do is
nice little job, Simon. That's not
no. A nice little secure job, not a little job in terms of size, but a nice secure environment, right? So I'm going to approach your owner and I'm going to interview you and do you the favour of driving a wedge between you and the club and interview you and then decide I don't want you and send you back to Burnley where you didn't want where you weren't prepared to be anymore. How's that work for Sean Dyche? Sean Dyche needs to know he's not being interviewed, he's being nailed on. Otherwise, what he says to Burnley is, don't fancy you anymore, fancy Spurs. Off he trundles to Spurs. Daniel Levy goes, well, that was a really good interview, but don't fancy you. So what does Sean Dyche do then?
Oh, I know
back
what
to
you're
Burnley.
saying.
So can he be nailed on?
Yeah.
Can Sean Dyche be nailed on for Spurs? And the answer is no, he cannot be nailed on for Spurs. A proven winner can be nailed on for Spurs. A person that's in an upward movement can be nailed on for Spurs. And there aren't many of those about, and Sean Dyche ain't one of them.
Yeah, but in my view, that is wrongly compartmentalising Sean Dyche.
How should I compartmentalise him? He keeps a tight side in the league. He plays a brand of football that's not particularly exhilarating. He's very good with the media. He does a great job for Burnley. How else should I take him out and compartmentalise
potential?
him? Well, potential to do what?
Would he be phased? Would Sean Dyche be phased at managing Tottenham? Not a chance. He would give it everything. The gusto. The guy is an absolute star turn.
And I think he is. How did he do at Watford?
But as you just described a moment ago, at Burnley, he ticks so many boxes.
But Burnley ain't Spurs. So what I'm saying is, listen, I'm not arguing against Sean Dyche.
No.
I think he should be given an opportunity. But I'm giving you the reasons why perhaps he may not be.
I get that.